I said, I want to help you hear things that are happening in spoken English that I can hear as a native speaker and also an English teacher. Native speaker and English teacher. I put these two ideas together to try to communicate something. Native English speaker. How does this term make you feel? I used it in the intro to a recent video, and then I realized that the term is actually quite problematic. If you're interested in exploring what's problematic about this term, that's what this conversation is about. First, let's take a look at the intro where I used it. Then we'll talk about the problems with it and why I decided to go back and cut it from the video. So here's the original intro where I used this phrase. Are your ears colorblind? I can help you open your ears to hear more and more of what's being communicated in the English that's spoken around you. You know, I have a friend who's red-green colorblind. When he sees a picture of a brilliant monarch butterfly on a background of green grass, he can hardly make out the butterfly. And there's nothing I can do to help his eyes see that brilliant butterfly. But with English learners, I can help you hear more and more of what's going on with the English that's spoken around you. I want to take you by the hand and let you hear English the way I do, to let English learners hear all of the things that are happening in the spoken language that I can hear as a native speaker and also an English teacher. Native speaker and English teacher. I put these two ideas together to try to communicate something. And I knew at the time that it was an oversimplification. In fact, I had recorded something quite a bit longer that was much more accurate, but I cut it for time. I just didn't want a really long intro to my video. I cut it for time. I chose those two ideas and put them together to try to communicate something. It was an oversimplification, and actually, it could give the wrong idea. And so I want to tell you what I didn't mean, what I did mean, and why it matters. So here's what I didn't mean. If I gave the impression that I can hear these things happening in spoken English just because I'm a native speaker, that is not true. Absolutely not. I operate on these patterns at a subconscious level, like all other native English speakers. They're musical elements of the spoken language that we're constantly using to signal to each other, all at a subconscious level. So if you ask a regular native speaker on the street about these patterns, they will have no idea what you're talking about, and yet they use them. It's below the level of conscious awareness, and I do the same thing. But I also have been an English teacher for a long time. And as soon as I learned a little bit about these elements of spoken English that we use to signal to each other, it was just really fascinating to me. Now, that was a lot of years ago. And so I've been pursuing this for a long time, and I've done a lot of work to uncover these patterns. I'm not through, I'm still learning about them, but I have uncovered a lot of them. And actually, what I do is I spend a lot of time and energy helping English learners hear these things too. Because if you grow up with a language other than English, some of these patterns will also be true for your native language, but a lot of them are not. And when something has no meaning for your native language, your ear doesn't get tuned for it because your brain doesn't consider it meaningful. If it's not meaningful, it's not important, and your brain simply discounts it. It filters it out. It doesn't notice it. And so it can be happening all around you, and you simply don't hear it. So if I gave the impression that I can hear these things just because I'm a native speaker, no, it's because I've spent a lot of time studying them. And if I gave the impression that if you're not a native speaker, you're not able to hear them, that's also not true. Like I said, that's what I spend a lot of time and energy doing, helping English learners start to hear these things and start to use them also. So in my effort to save time, I oversimplified the situation, and I think I probably oversimplified it to a point where the message could have been distorted. So I hope that's clear now. I hear these things not because I'm a native speaker, but because I've studied them. And non-native speakers can also start tuning their ear to hear them and start using them as well. And now here's why it matters. English is a global language. That's very likely why you're studying it. And so there's a phenomenon that I've only recently become aware of that has a name, and it's called Native-speakerism. And basically, this is a name that refers to a pervasive belief that sort of splits the global English speaking world of English teaching, but I believe also of working in English and just participating as a global citizen. It splits this global English speaking world into native and non-native English speakers, and it assigns non-native speakers sort of a default second class status. Now, one harmful assumption of native speakerism is about teachers, that native speaking English teachers are superior, that they're better qualified to teach English just because they're native speakers. And this isn't true. I know I know a lot of native English speakers, and they couldn't teach you English. They wouldn't know how to teach it to you. Yeah, they just know how to speak it. They don't know how to teach it. And I also know that there are a lot of extremely qualified, dedicated, talented, and capable non-native English teachers in the world. In fact, my best friend is one of them. My best friend is Mexican professor of English, and he's extremely prepared and gifted. And I know that he has been helping his students tremendously for years. So for him and for all of the English teachers in the world for whom English is a second language, this belief can be harmful. In fact, this belief is harmful. It means that some positions are not even available to extremely qualified non-native speaking teachers. And so because of this harmful belief that really I'm just learning about, I think that it's not helpful for me to mention that I'm a native English speaker because it could in some way contribute to perpetuating this harmful unconscious belief. This is a belief that people are working to bring to the light so that we can change it. And I'm only starting to learn about this. I know that it affects teachers. It probably also affects people applying for certain jobs. And it may also have an effect on English learners, on your beliefs about yourself, and on what you believe is possible for you. And so, because unknowingly I used a word that could contribute in some way to furthering this belief, I want to say right here very clearly that non-native speakers, native speakers, we're all one people. Everybody is as good as everybody else, and everyone deserves the same respect and the same opportunity. And I want to thank my colleagues in the global English teaching community for having this conversation with me and sharing their perspectives and their experience. It's a little uncomfortable to have your eyes opened to something that you've been blind to because, you have that pride that makes you want to say, I already knew all of that, but actually it's really good for us to allow our eyes to be opened. I love English learners. I have spent 20 years helping people express themselves in English, and I love you guys. So I don't want to do anything to hurt you in even the smallest way. And so that's what I had to say. I hope that clears things up. I still have a lot to learn about this topic, but I'm glad that I'm aware of it. And so I can choose my words conscientiously because the language that we use matters. And if you are an English learner or an English teacher who's a non-native speaker, I would love to know your experience. I wonder if it's affected your beliefs about yourself or about what's possible for you. So, if you have any thoughts, experiences, feelings about this, I'm here to learn. I would love to hear from you. And have you had any experiences with discrimination because you're a non native English speaker? So, let me know your experience because I still have a lot to learn about this. And I think it's great to have this conversation. But basically, from me to you, native speakers, non native speakers, we are all we are all one. Should there even be a division? No, right? We're all one people. And as we are increasingly interconnected, we can work together to end harmful beliefs that divide us up. So that's why this video is getting a new and improved intro. It's short and sweet. I can help you open your ears to hear more and more of what's being communicated in the English that's spoken around you.